So this video is on the Chapter 5, Classwork 3 from Thursday. I know I had some students who had some technical difficulties today. And in period 6, not everyone was able to stay and get through this whole worksheet. So I'm going to go over it right now. And a couple things we're trying to do here is we're trying to understand the difference between n, which is which term are you in? First term, second term, third term, fourth term. And f of n, which is the actual number in your sequence, -8, -3, 2. This is our sequence. We're adding 5, okay? And we're generating these numbers by adding 5. These are my actual sequence values. This is the term, first term in the sequence, second term in the sequence, third term in the sequence, and so forth. We're also going to be kind of taking a look at this f of n minus 1 or maybe f of n minus 6 and understand what this means. So this f of n minus 1, if f of n is a term in the sequence, f of n minus 1 is 1 before it. And f of n minus 6 is 6 before it. Okay, so let's get started. It says, use the given table to identify the indicated value for n. Okay. Then use the value for n that you determined in A to find the indicated value for B. Okay, so on number 1, it says when f of n is 12, what is the value of n? Okay, so I want to find my n that gave me an f of n of 12. So f of n of 12 is right here. Okay, so f of n is 12 is right here. My n is 5. My fifth term is 12. So this is really saying, hey, which term is 12? My fifth term. So n is 5. Okay, so I'm going to get my text box. And I'm going to type n equal 5. Okay, so now here it says, what is the value of f of n minus 1? So if I know I'm here at the fifth term, I'm right here at my fifth term, I want not my fifth term, but the term before it. That's what the n minus 1 means. So I'm here. Okay. Now, algebraically, what's happening here is if I was to go f of, and my n is 5, so I'm going to go 5 minus 1, that is f of 4. And so it's really saying, hey, what is the fourth term? And so when I come up here, I see again that the fourth term is 7. So here, let me just get a different color for that. Okay, so I know my fourth term is 7. Okay, so that's what I'm going to write here. Okay, so let me just get back in this text box. So it is 7. So the value of f of n minus 1 when n is 5, meaning when I'm at my fifth term, is 7. Okay, so now the next one. When f of n is equal to 27, what is the value of n? So I am going to be looking for, let me just move these. Okay. So I am going to be looking for when my f of n is 12, what is the value of n? Okay. So when my f of n is 27, okay, here's my f of n is 27. That is when my n is 8. So n equal 8. Now it says, okay, what is the value of f of n minus 6? So this is really saying, okay, if my n is 8, I'm here at my 8th term, I want the term that's 6 before it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the one I want. Okay, so again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is going to be -3. Again, if we're looking at this in terms of finding that n is 8, well, let me just get a normal text box. Finding that n is 8, and I want f of 8 minus 6 is what I really want. And f of 8 minus 6 is really f of 2. So again, I am trying to find the second term, and my second term is -3. Okay, so when f of n is 32, what is the value of n? Okay, so when f of n is 32, let me just get rid of this. When f of n is 32, what is the value of n? Okay, so I want where it is 32. So it's 32 right here at 9, the 9th term. Okay, so n equal 9. And then this time it says, what's the value of f of n plus 1, which means I'm really going one after it. I want the one after it, not the one before it. Okay, so I really want the 10th term, which is 37. Now, what I'm doing here is, again, if I want f of n plus 1 and I know my n is 9, I want 9 plus 1. So I want f of 10. And so it's really saying, what is the 10th term? So again, if I'm looking here, my 10th term is 37. Here, let me just get that. My 10th term is 37. So that's what I'm going to write here. Oops. Okay. Now on number 4, 5, and 6, this is slightly different. What these are asking us is they're going to give us a particular term and give me the n, saying, hey, it's the 8th term, that's your n. And they're going to give me the f of n, what the actual sequence value is. And they're going to tell me what we're doing, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. And we need to decide whether explicit equation would be the easiest to find the term they want, or recursive. And just a little reminder, this recursive is really this. So if I was going to write this, now would be f of n. Previous term would be f of n minus 1. And what are we doing to the term before to get the next term? We're adding 10. 10. So that's what this is here. Let me just move it. Okay, so those are really the same. Okay, those are really the same. So the value of the 8th term is 78. Okay, so let me just kind of highlight this. 8th term is 78. And we know we're increasing by 10. Okay, so I know my 8th term is 78, and I know I'm basically adding 10. So should I use my explicit equation to find the term they want, or the recursive equation? Now, what they want is they want the 9th term, and I knew the 8th term. So if I know the term before, you might as well just take that term and do the math and add the 10. So I am going to basically take my 8th term, which was 78, and I'm going to add 10 onto it, which gives me 88. And that's going to be my answer. Okay. Now I could have used this equation and put 9 in here and gotten 90 minus 2 and gotten 88. But again, since I already know the term, the 8th term, and I want to find the next term, just add 10. So explanation. Use the recursive equation since you know the term before the one you want. Okay, so that's when I use the recursive. If I know the term in front of the one I want, use that and do the math that they say. Add 10, multiply by 2, divide by 7, whatever they're saying to do. Okay, explicit equation. So the explicit equation is y equals 3x plus 7. They're telling us that the recursive is basically f of n now, equals f of n minus 1, previous term, plus 3. And they're giving us a table. We know my first term is 10, the second term is 13, and it looks like we want the 50th term. So here they say, okay, what is the value of the 50th term? Now, if I knew the 49th term, I would do my recursive. But since I don't know the 49th term, I am going to do explicit. Otherwise, I'm going to have to keep adding 3 over and over again from the second term on to get up to 50. And I don't want to do that. So I'm going to use explicit here. And up here, I should have circled this. I am going to use my recursive. That's what I'm going to use here. Okay. So for this one, let me just get rid of this. So I am going to be taking 3 times 50, and I'll move that in a second, and adding 7. Okay, and I'm going to fill it. I'm going to do that. I'm going to fill it. Okay, and when I do that, that gives me well, 3 times 50 is 150 plus 7 is 157. And that's your 50th term, 157. So again, here when they say your explanation, use explicit since you do not know the 49th term to find the 50th. Okay, so if I knew the 49th, we use recursive if I want to find the 50th, but in this case, we don't use explicit. The value of the 4th term is 80. Okay, so hold on. The value of the 4th term is 80. And the sequence is being doubled each time. So we're timesing by 2. And here you see the explicit equation. Okay. And the recursive says now f of n equals previous f of n minus 1 times 2. And we want to find the 7th term. So if I have the 4th term and I want to find the 7th term, if I wanted to use recursive, I'd have to add it to get the 5th term, add it to get the 6th term, or not add it, sorry, we're doubling. I double it to get the 5th term, I double it to get the 6th term, I double it to get the 7th term. Doable, but I personally don't want to take all that effort. So if I do not know the term right before, I am not going to use recursive. I am going to plug it in to the explicit. Okay. And so to do that, let me just get a table, a box here. Actually, let me get a math box. Okay, so to do that, I am taking 5 times 2 raised to the power 7 because I want the 7th term. And I put this in my calculator. And just a little reminder, this is not 5 times 2, 7 times, or 10 to the 7. Only the 2 is being raised to the power 7. It's 5 and then times 2, times 2, times 2, 7 times. Okay, and if I put this in my calculator, I end up getting 640. And so that would be the 7th term. And let me just, I'm going to fill this. Okay, that would be the 7th term. So then they say, okay, why are you doing that? Since I do not know the 6th term, use explicit equation to find the 7th term. Okay, I knew the 4th, but that's a lot of work. So hopefully that will help you. Those of us who are not here today, I'll hopefully see you tomorrow.